Drives and repulsions. The homogenization of circuits in an ideal universe of synthesis and prosthesis, a universe which is positive, consensual, and synchronous. All this makes for a world that is unacceptable. Not only does the body rebel against grafts or artificial replacement parts, but the mind too rises up against the synergy imposed upon it by producing countless forms of allergy. Abreaction, rejection, and allergy are manifestations of a singular kind of energy, a visceral energy which has replaced negativity and critical revolt, and bred our time's most emblematic phenomena: viral pathologies, terrorism, drugs, delinquency. Even such reputedly positive features as the cult of performance and a mass production hysteria, which have much more to do with the compulsion to get rid of something than with the drive to create anything at all. Today, we are driven far less by drives proper than by considerations of expulsion and repulsion. Natural disasters themselves suggest a kind of allergy, a rejection by nature of the operational dominance of human agency. As negativity agonizes, such events constitute an irreducible sign of violence, a precious and supernatural sign of denial. Moreover, their virulence, by its contagiousness, frequently precipitates social disorder. The great drives or impulses, with their positive, elective, and attractive powers, are gone. We desire still, but in the feeblest way only. Our tastes are less and less highly determined. The constellations of taste and of desire, like that of the will, have been blown apart. By what mechanism, we do not know. By contrast, the constellations of unwillingness, of repulsion and disgust are more solid than ever. It seems that this has generated a new energy, a counter-energy, a force that has taken the place of desire in us, a viral abreaction in response to whatever has replaced the world, the body, and sex for us. Today only distaste is determined. Tastes are determinate no longer. Only rejections are violent. Projects are violent no longer. Our actions, our undertakings, our sicknesses have less and less in the way of objective motives. They arise for the most part from a concealed self-disgust, an unacknowledged empty legacy which causes us to try to get rid of our energy by whatever means. A kind of exorcism, then, rather than a will to action. Could this be the principle of evil in a new form, one not far removed from magic, whose epicenter, as we know, is precisely exorcism? In Simmel's words, negation is the simplest thing imaginable. That is why the broad masses, whose component elements cannot achieve agreement as to goals, come together here. It is useless to expect a positive opinion or a critical will from the masses, for they have none. All they have is an undifferentiated power, the power to reject. Their strength flows solely from what they are able to expel, to negate, and that is, first and foremost, any project that goes beyond them, any class or understanding that transcends them. There is something here of a philosophy of cunning, born of the most brutal experience, the experience of animals or of peasants. They won't put that over on us again. We won't fall for their calls to sacrifice or listen to their pie in the sky. Profound disgust for the political order, though one that may well coexist with specific political opinions. Disgust for the pretension and transcendence of power, for the inevitability and abomination of the political sphere. Where once there were political passions, we now find only the violence peculiar to a fundamental disgust with everything political. Power itself is founded largely on disgust. The whole of advertising, the whole of political discourse, is a public insult to the intelligence, to reason, but an insult in which we collaborate, abjectly subscribing to a silent interaction. The day of hidden persuasion is over. Those who govern us now resort unapologetically to arm-twisting, pure and simple. The prototype here was a banker got up like a vampire, saying, "I am after you for your money." A decade has already gone by since this kind of obscenity was introduced, with the government's blessing, into our social mores. At the time, we thought the ad feeble because of its aggressive vulgarity. In point of fact, it was a prophetic commercial, full of intimations of the future shape of social relationships, because it operated precisely in terms of disgust, avidity, and rape. The same goes for pornographic and food advertising, which are also powered by shamelessness and lust, by a strategic logic of violation and anxiety. Nowadays, you can seduce a woman with the words, "I am interested in your cunt." The same kind of crassness has triumphed in the realm of art, whose mounds of trivia may be reduced to a single pronouncement of the type, "What we want from you is stupidity and bad taste." And the fact is that we do succumb to this mass extortion with its subtle infusion of guilt. It is true in a sense that nothing really disgusts us anymore. In our eclectic culture, which embraces the debris of all others in a promiscuous confusion, nothing is unacceptable. But for this reason, disgust is nevertheless on the increase. The desire to spew out this promiscuity, this indifference to everything, no matter how bad, this viscous adherence of opposites. To the extent that this happens, what is on the increase is disgust over the lack of disgust, an allergic temptation to reject everything en bloc, to refuse all the gentle brainwashing, the soft-souled overfeeding, the tolerance, the pressure to embrace synergy and consensus. All the talk of immunity, antibodies, grafting, and rejection should not surprise anyone. In periods of scarcity, absorption and assimilation are the order of the day. In periods of abundance, rejection and expulsion are the chief concerns. Today, generalized communication and surplus information threaten to overwhelm all human defenses. Symbolic space, the mental space of judgment, has no protection whatsoever. Not only am I unable to decide whether something is beautiful or not, original or not, but the biological organism itself is at a loss to know what is good for it and what is not. In such circumstances, everything becomes a bad object, and the only primitive defense is abreaction or rejection. Laughter itself is more often than not a vital abreaction to the disgust we feel for the monstrous mixing and promiscuity that confront us. But for all that we may gag on the absence of differentiation, it still fascinates us. We love to mix everything up, even if it simultaneously repels us. The reaction whereby the organism seeks to preserve its symbolic integrity is a vital one, even if the price paid is life itself, as in the rejection of a transplanted heart. Why would bodies not resist the arbitrary swapping of organs and cells? Also, why do cells, in cancer, refuse to carry out their assigned functions?